Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Dave. I just wanted to ask you about the dynamics of a 5-game series as opposed to a 7-game series. What changes as a coach, and I guess how does the 5-game series impact your decision-making process and your level of patience when it comes to lineup changes and things like that?
You're probably saying a lot of the same things going into the series, but obviously a start in the series is the start can have a big impact on it. Your room for error is less, so you want to make sure you're starting right from the first game, playing well. So there's not a lot of room for error. You go into it, there's going to be, anything can happen. There's injuries, there's adjustments in play, just seeing where people are. There's a lot of factors that'll go into play that I think you really dissect on what your team is doing, who's playing well, who might not be. You have somebody else that might be a better fit there. So all those things will come into play. And in a 5-game series, the urgency is ramped up because if you spend too much time waiting for somebody to come around, it might be too late.
Next question from CTV News Edmonton. Please identify yourself and ask your question. Go ahead.
Hey, this is Carl Alphazette from CTV Edmonton. Coach, I was just wondering, I guess, before the game, as the guys are putting on the jerseys with Colby's number on them, what was the atmosphere like, and was there much conversation about what they were playing for today?
You know what? Everybody recognized it. Colby was a great friend to everybody, and they're just a good person. He was a real lively person. He's missed around the dressing room. So I think there were some stories and just some reflection of Colby and what he meant to our team and the friendships they had. So the guys were very, very respectful and rightly so. So it was I think the players enjoyed doing that, enjoyed having that moment to remember him, and I think it was good for Emily and the family. So it went well. I mean, it's a day that you wish you never had, but because of the circumstances, I think guys paying respects is the right thing to do.
Next question, Daniel Nugent-Bowman. Go ahead, Daniel.
Dave, 2 questions for you. What can you say about the statuses of Darnell Nurse and Riley Shahan? And also, what have these 2 games, dating back to Wednesday and today, taught you, or what have you learned about your goaltending from these 2 games?
We've got 2 goaltenders still. Nobody's hurt there, so we're good there. Darnell Nurse was, I guess, what is the word, unfit to play today, but he'll be fit to practice tomorrow, so that's a good thing, and I haven't checked on Sheehan yet.
Next question, Mark Spector. Mark, as soon as your microphone is open, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, you only got 1 exhibition game. So, I can't think you probably haven't coached many preseasons where you got 1 game. How does it work? You got Calgary coming in. There can be emotions there. What are we going to see? What's going to be the biggest difference in a 1-game preseason as opposed to a 7-game preseason?
You know what, Spec? I'm going to go back in my history a little bit. When I first went to Arizona, I knew I was going to coach there, and there was a bunch of stuff tied up with the bankruptcy and stuff, and I didn't get to come to camp until 1 exhibition game left. So I coached 1 exhibition game before we started my first year in Arizona. So there has been a time when actually there's been 1 exhibition game for me. So leave that aside. No, we got 1 game, but we feel like we've scrimmaged so much. We've talked about, different things we want to try to accomplish. You've got a team in Calgary who we know well, obviously, but I think both teams are going to go in there and really try to concentrate on getting their game in order. I mean, it's you want to do things that allow you to get your team up and running. You recognize your opponent, but both teams got bigger fish to fry than that game on Tuesday night. So you'll use it to make sure your team's in order going into game 1.
Next question, Jim Matheson. Jim, as soon as your microphone is unmuted, you can ask your question. Go ahead.
So the number of goals goalies give up in these last 2 scrimmages don't matter, because obviously Smitty gave up a lot more goals than Koskinen. Was that just because he was playing against a much stronger team?
I tracked the scoring chances in the game. the Orange team today had a lot more scoring chances, but those are things that just you watch it and you just take it all in, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Next question, Rob Tichkowski. Go ahead, Rob.
Hi, Dave. I guess when the NHL first came up with this plan that they're going to create 2 bubble cities and get 24 teams in there and get this, a lot of people were pretty skeptical, thinking there's no way they're going to be able to get this thing done. Well, here they are. Everybody moves in tomorrow. Can you maybe first off talk about the effort and planning it took to get to this point, and secondly, what it's going to be like for you, professionally and as a human being inside that bubble?
Well, it's an amazing thing what they've done here, because you guys have been around too. 2 weeks ago, they were still talking about getting things done, and now it looks like we're going to be able to move ahead. And I know there was concerns about players coming into phase 2 and then getting to phase 3. And I give our medical staff a ton of credit, making sure we were doing the right things, the protocols were in place. But you also got to give the players and staffs of team a great deal of credit, because they really decided to hunker down, do what's needed to get yourself into the bubble healthy and without any virus in there. So I think teams have done a great job as far as going into the bubble. I mean, I look at it as everybody's the same. It doesn't change a lot for some of us here. I've been actually living in the Marriott or over top of the Marriott for a month anyway, so my life's not going to change that much, other than if you wanted to go out to a grocery store or something. But I haven't heard any comments from our players about not wanting to do it or concerned about it. Our players are excited to get in and get playing.
Next question, Ryan Rashad. Go ahead, Ryan.
Dave, I just back to the goaltenders. Do you anticipate splitting the exhibition game, or do you feel it's important that whoever's going to start for you in the series get a full competitive game in the exhibition game? And I guess, are you prepared to say who that might be?
I'm not prepared to say they're going to split or get a full one. We haven't decided that fully yet. We wanted to get through today's game, and I'll talk with Schwartzy over the next couple of days, and we'll devise a plan for Tuesday.
Next question, Daniel Nugent-Bowman. Go ahead, Daniel.
Hi, Dave. Just dating back to the 04-05 lockout, I'm told you had a chance to go to your old stomping grounds at Prince Albert and have a talk with the Raiders. I'm just wondering what you can remember about that and what your relationship is like with Peter Anholt.
Well, Peter and I were teammates a long time ago, won a championship together in Prince Albert, and have remained real good friends. And Peter was coaching in Prince Albert at the time, just happened to have some time to go up there and spend with them. He's a very good manager now, but was a very good coach. So just the two of us, we were close teammates, and I've done it before. I met with his team in Prince Albert. I actually, during the lockout, or no, not during the lockout, 2 years ago when I was took some time off, I went up and spent some time with his team in Lethbridge also. So he's just a good friend, and anytime you can get around a young hockey team and check in with them and see if you can help, that's I look forward to doing things like that. So Pete's a good man, and his teams are always real competitive, and it's just that friendship with him that has allowed me to get to know some of those junior players.
Next question, Jim Matheson. Jim, as soon as your microphone is open, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Dave, you've coached in some world championships. Is the hub any different than that when all the teams would be maybe in a hotel somewhere in Europe? And the other question is, I know the players don't want to mingle much because they're playing against them, but will the coaches at least sit down and maybe they can have a beer?
Well, the first 5 days, you're not supposed to mingle with anybody. So after that, but you'll bump into colleagues and that. You get a lot of people that in a small space. You liken it to the draft or something like that, where you see everybody around. So I can envision situations like that. I don't think you'll be sitting around having a beer and talking shop with anybody because you might be playing them, So And as far as the bubble thing, you know, Jim, I've been part of, I think, 3 or 4 world championships, but the 2 Olympics I was in, both within Olympic Village, that could be a little more like the bubble, because that Olympic Village is very tight, very tight. You end up getting in there. I know the first one I was at in '84 in Yugoslavia, it was a tight bubble. You got in that Olympic Village and you didn't go very far other than go to your event and then back. So a little more like an Olympic situation. That's what I think. I'm not sure yet, but that's what I'm envisioning a little bit. And you'll have a close-knit group by the time you get out.
Another question from Ryan Rashog. Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, Dave, just on that idea of a close-knit group, I think naturally some years you have a closer team than other years. You know, the social aspect of it maybe changes a little year to year. What would you say about kind of the closeness of this year's group? And if this is one of those circumstances where, you know, a team that maybe is a little bit closer can really benefit just given what you're all about to go through together?
Well, ultimately, I think you're exactly right. To win anything, you've got to be a good team, not just on the ice, but you've got to care for each other and make sure that you're pulling for each other, and that builds a good team. You know, you have to do the right things on the ice, but you have to have a team off the ice also, that with chemistry and how you go about things. So I like our group that way. I think our group has really grown. You know, coming from some adversity the year before to this year, as we've gone on throughout the whole year, I think things have continued to get where they've molded together and really become a tight group. You know, I look at the Colby Cave situation. Unfortunately, at the end of the year, that was another thing. I think it's bonded the group even closer together. So I like where we're at that way. I think we do have a close group. I think you know, there's different times when maybe we don't play well or not practicing hard enough. And it's amazing how from the start of the year to now, they recognize it way before I can get to them and say anything about it. So that's a sign of a good, tight team. They know what is expected. They know what is expected from each other. It's not me saying it's what we have to do to play it well as the team. So I like where we're at there. There's a lot of accountability in there. They like each other. They want to play hard for each other. And people know their roles, and everybody feels a part of it.
We'll take 2 more questions. Next up, Daniel Nugent-Bowman. Go ahead, Daniel.
I know you've been asked about this earlier in the week, Dave, but Corey Crawford, obviously without all week, and now will be traveling to Edmonton. How does that change the dynamic of playing Chicago with their number 1 goalie, a cup-winning goalie, versus obviously not heading up and able to play, or if he's not able to play?
I never ever thought they would play without him, so it doesn't change my thought at all. I've thought all along that he'll be there. So it doesn't change. My thinking on that hadn't changed. I thought he would be available for them.
And a final question for Jim Matheson. Go ahead, Jim.
I know the players are going to walk around in sweatsuits, but coaches have to coach behind the bench with a bunch of different suits. How many suits does the guy wear when he can't go home and get the other ones in his closet? How many suits are you bringing for this affair?
I don't know exactly how many, but I'll make sure they're very neutral colors. So if I change the tie, maybe you won't recognize the suit. But it's interesting thinking about what you're packing for. But you know, hopefully you get enough. And our coaches, we talked about it the other day. I think some guys are bringing 5 suits, some guys 4, some guys 6. I don't know. We'll see what comes out of the closet at the end. But it's an interesting dynamic when you're going on the road and you don't know how long you're going for.